These dang old new DR-Zs all come with ABS. You got no choice. Sure, you can turn it off if you hold the little button down, but you got to be all the way to dead stop. Now it's off. Watch this, as soon as we cycle the key, it's back on. And even if you do turn it off, these Supermoto versions, you can only disable it to the rear, which means no stoppies. It's not gonna do it. But wouldn't it be nice if instead of having this stupid little switch, you had this button right here? Just by turning it off, ABS is now off. To the rear and to the front. And the cool thing about my switch is it doesn't matter if we turn this bike off, turn it back on. It's a physical switch. The ABS is off until I want it to be back on. And to get it back on, you just turn it on and restart the bike. That's the only downside, is you do gotta cycle the key to turn it back on. So in this video, I'm gonna show you how to install this switch. It's very cheap, very easy. I'm gonna show you the no solder solution. So I know you stunt guys in the Supermoto world are gonna want this switch. So I'll also show you a way just to simply disable it. Of course, I always get a few people, whenever I do videos about ABS, to say, well, why would you ever want to disable it in the first place? And tell me how good ABS is. And I would say to you is, why did you click on this video? You know what I'm saying? If you ain't about it, don't worry about it. There's a lot of dual sport guys out there that don't want to have to sit there and mess with that switch every time they turn on and off the key. There's Supermoto guys that want to be able to do stoppies. So I wouldn't get too worried about it. Also, you should know this DR-Z is a giveaway motorcycle. Thanks to fanofthem.com. Go to fanofthem.com/JakeTGS. And you can buy some exclusive merch so that you can be entered to win. Giveaway ends September 21st, so get on it.
Now let's say you just want to disable the ABS. You don't actually care about adding the switch. Well, that actually can be done by getting behind this panel right here. In order to get behind this panel, you'll want to remove the small little triangle panel with some tools behind it that requires your key. Then you'll need to remove the 3 8mm bolts and pop this panel off. From here, you can see the fuse box. You need to sort of wiggle this thing out. It's a little goofy how Suzuki put it in there. Open it up. Third from the bottom, 15 amp ABS fuse. Pull this fuse out and simply put everything back the way it was, and that will disable the ABS. You'll have a small light on the dash, but things like your speedometer, which are read off the ABS system, will still work. You won't get any weird check engine lights, and when you replace the fuse, cycle the key, everything will go back to normal. And effectively what we're going to be doing is tapping into the wire that feeds that fuse and adding a switch. This one is designed to power headlights. It's got a simple on-off, so it's quite simple. So coming off of that fuse is a red wire with a blue stripe. And basically, like I said, we're going to be cutting that wire and splicing this switch into it. When it's on, the loop will be complete, and as far as the bike knows, nothing has changed. And when it's off, it'd be the same as pulling the fuse back there. Now, you could pick anywhere along here you want to tap into that. I've tried digging through the bike kind of close up to the dash to see if I can find that wire kind of right here behind the ABS pump. I haven't found it very easily, but I have found it right here. So this is where I'm going to be digging into. It's up to you. If you want to go for a hunt to find that wire, you can do that. We're just gonna tap into here. We're gonna do some extension of wires. I'll show you how to do that, but just know that's what it's gonna take. So in order to get access to all this, you will need to go ahead and remove the seat. If you've never removed the seat before, it'll have a strap running across it that will not allow you to get the seat off until you take the other panel off. You have to remove the little triangle door with a little pop pin, a couple bolts. You can get to that thing. Then you can pull the strap off, then you can pull the seat off, and then you never put that stupid strap back on, so the seat's just held on by 2 bolts like a normal seat. And then you can remove the tank if you want. That may not be something you want to go that far, but if you do, you need to remove the plastic shroud thing that goes around it. That's 4 bolts on one side, 4 on the other. Then that whole plastic thing comes off. And there's 2 bolts on the back of the tank you want to remove, and that allows you to hinge the tank up. I like to stick a mallet under them or a dead blow. Then there's a connector underneath there, simple push connector. And then there's one of these sort of quick disconnect fuel lines. And then you'll have 1 extra bolt up front you need to remove that the tank was hinging on. Then take the tank off and you're here. It's not that bad. Again, this will just make it easier for me to kind of tuck the wire in. If you want to sit there and play the game of leaving a bunch of those plastics on and kind of fishing this thing up and doing things, I leave that up to you, but just remember you don't want dangling wires hanging down. You don't want this thing to get in something it's not supposed to get into. Try to make this convenient. Now, of course, this wire won't be long enough, and I don't want it to just be solidly connected to. So we will be extending it and adding some connectors. This wire is quite a bit thicker than the wires we're going to be tapping into, or switch wires. Always better to go bigger than small if you're going to be doing some stuff like that. Clean up a bit with some heat shrink. Again, I kind of leave that up to you. I'm going to show you the example of how I'm doing this, and some of this can be however you want to do it. Make sure I've got a connector on the end of this close to the handlebars so that if we need to pull things off, do stuff, we're not like just hardwired all the way into the bike. That's not ideal. All right, got those on. Now on the other sides of the wires, uncut, I'm just gonna go ahead and add on our female sides. Trim those. I'll put a couple little pieces of heat shrink on here. If I do the right size, I'm gonna make like a little thing with the rubber on there. So now let's figure out somewhere to put the switch. I'm thinking this side of the handlebars looks good to me. Maybe something about like that. I like it, and we can kind of follow it with some existing wires running down the handlebars. I think I might have lucked out that they left this zip tie loose enough I can just tuck my wires through. Just continue to follow their stack of wires down. And that leads us to the tail of it sticking out right here. Now we'll actually zip tie this down and do something here with it in a minute, but I think we need to set our other wires up first. We're gonna be going in right here. That's where I found this wire before. We take this, we run it up, following these other zip ties. They gave us some of those easy disconnect ones that are reusable. So I'm kind of just measuring it out right now. Now I've made it where I've made it a bit long, so we've got extra. I've got my length here. I've already added a little bit. We add just a little more, always add a little more. All right, that's one. And I'll make my other one the exact same length. Now, if we really want, I can try to cover this in heat shrink. This is something I'm not an expert in, so tell me if I'm doing this stupid, but I like to just kind of measure out a bit of this here. I'm just gonna start trying to feed it through, and it'll get to a point that's gonna be a real big pain in the butt, but hopefully I'll be able to make it work. I'm leaving about that much sticking out the ends, and then you can use lighter or gotta use a heat gun. What's funny to me is how expensive hair dryers are that my wife buys. They seem to last like a few years and they go out. But this thing was like $8 and I've had it for like 20 years. All right, now comes one of the more interesting parts, is that we gotta fish that wire out from this bit of the stack that I was talking about before, that red with blue stripe. Is that it? I might have to look at my notes. Trim this bit of electrical tape right here. I'm also going to go ahead and open up this zip tie right here. I've found this in here before, but I've not tried doing this yet. Trying to cut this electrical tape open, obviously, do it carefully. There's a wiring harness back here, and there it is, our red with blue stripe. We're going to do something that, if you've been following me for a while, you know I normally preach not to do, and that is we're going to cut the stock wiring harness. Normally, I always try to say, leave the wiring harness alone and modify and cut things that connect into it, right? Like let's say you want to change the headlight out, but you want to reuse the factory connector, fine, cut it on the bulb side, rewire that, because that's a replaceable part. The whole wiring harness is replaceable, but it's a giant pain in the ass. So I normally tell you not to modify these things, but in this case, I'm going to tell you to modify things. We're going to take this wire and we're going to break our rule here and we're going to cut it. The wires that we're running down to the switch, we're going to connect to this and make it so that when it's on, it completes the loop. When it's off, it's the same as disconnected. This disconnected is the same as that fuse being pulled. We want to strip these back. So from here, you got a couple choices. If we want, we could take our exposed wires right here, put connectors on them, and put connectors on these just to make another break point in this system. I don't think that's necessary. I'm going to just solder this directly in. Now, you know what you're thinking. I gotta solder right here on the bike. I'm not good at soldering. I gotta do it right here. No, we're gonna do this the easy way, folks. We're gonna use some of these soldering heat shrink connectors. This is heat shrink, clear heat shrink with glue on each end and solder, all low melt point. So we're gonna be able to slip this on, use a heat gun, and connect the whole thing. I went ahead and threw another big piece of unshrunk heat shrink onto this wire, which we'll be able to pull up when we're done. The cool thing is it doesn't matter which way we connect these. This is just completing a loop. I know we like to think of wires, oh, negative and positive, but this is just basically positive and positive. And here's our little heat shrink tube. Normally you want to pull the whole thing down, twist the wires together and pull it up on there. But I'm not really having enough room to do that. This size wire I'm running, unfortunately, is way too big. So we're going to do something that I'm sure some people are going to say is naughty, you shouldn't do. but I've done this and tested it and it works just fine. We're gonna shove both pieces in just like this without twisting them up. And the cool thing is you can see exactly where they are. You can twist this whole thing up a little bit like this, but I'm telling you, I don't think it matters. So I've tested this several times by taking wires that I've heat shrinked, even just doing them simply by pushing the two ends together and try pulling them apart. And it has the same strength if I actually twist it up, soldered it, and put heat shrink over it. It's like the same. The wire breaks before the solder does every time. So we're trying not to melt the whole stack here, so we're gonna kind of work this back and forth, different angles here. But eventually this solder will let go. You'll see it go like the T1000. Now we're gonna stuff everything back in, replace this zip tie with a reusable one, and I'm gonna use a handful of other smaller zip ties instead of the electrical tape they had on here. Obviously, when we go to stuff this all back together, we are gonna have these two wires hanging out. And now we've got our tail right here. We have our other wires coming off the switch right here. Go ahead and just connect them. Doesn't matter which way we connect them, it's just completing a loop. I want to point out here is how really nice the stock wiring harness is, and this nice little sheath here, and it's got this nice slack. And I'm going to kind of mimic the shape it's going in here, because that's going to be really good for taking up all the slack in it. And so now when I turn the handlebars, this shouldn't do anything weird because we're following the stock harness, which they've given a nice loop of slack, and everything will be good. I'm going to use one of these cool reusable zip ties. It's hilariously too long right now, but we'll take care of that in a moment. But this way, if I need to remove this later or somebody else does, whoever's won this bike, it'll be removable through this zip tie right here. There we go. That's nice and smooth. Perfect. That should work with stock wiring harness. And I've gone back here and did a little bit of extra electrical tape and zip ties around here just to clean everything up. Double checked all my zip ties. Everything looks good. We're gonna be out of the way. Yeah, that's a really important part of this, just making sure that nothing's gonna be like stretching, pulling, binding when we turn the bars. We want this to all work nice and freely. Switch is in a good spot. Also, now let's put the bike back together. You took it apart, so I'm not gonna film that.
And there you go, just like that. You got your little switchy-do here. You can rock her up, put it on the front wheel. Woo! I think all Supermotos should be able to do that. Easy enough. Let me know if you have any questions. If I didn't answer anything in this video. And if you really want to pick my brain about this bike or anything else, head over to my Discord. Chat with me in there. Hell, you can call me in there. You have to get onto my Patreon to get onto that Discord, just $1 a month. And you get access to a lot of these videos. You get extended access to longer videos that come out earlier and they're ad-free. Otherwise, I'll see y'all next video. Woo! See you next time! Woo! Woo!